Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. Testing. Many mincing maidens meandered moodily morewards. Betty bought a bit of butter, but the bitter butter Betty bought was bitter, so Betty bought a better bit of butter, and the batter was better. A pale pink proud peacock pompously pruned its pretty plumage. Hey, man.
Hey. I just got Rob to add you.
I'm calling him now.
Hello.
Hey. This is Jonathan.
Hey, Rob. And this is Hal.
Hey, Hal.
How's it going?
Hey, I was just good. I was just starting to chat with you, Hal. I just a couple of things to kind of let you guys know.
We are streaming live. Is this off the record stuff?
This is totally off the record stuff.
Okay. You want to type it, or Jonathan can pause the stream, or?
Oh, okay, no, I'll type it to you.
Okay. I mean, it's like, there's only, I don't know how many people are in the room, but hey, it's up to you, man. Letting you know.
Hey, no way, man.
I figure out how I do tell how many people are actively in the room right now. 13, okay. That's cool. I need to go to the IRC room and say, hey, we are starting to record here shortly.
Rob, do you have video you can send us?
1 second. Are you sure you want to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. We like it.
It's better for the live stream.
It's
more fun.
Yes, it is. Alrighty, let's see what we have here. Oh,
you
yeah,
know
no
what?
big deal, dude. That's easy.
Yeah, I don't. Let me see. I had my other. I'm actually in my home office, and I had my camera is in my work office. I'm going to see if I can use my Surface here on my front camera. And you can see my wall.
That much is working.
So Rob Jonathan didn't want me to ask about his age. That's what he was telling me in Skype. He was really shy about discussing his age.
I can understand that. You know, some people are a little little private.
Yeah.
Oh, trust me, there's not too much stuff private. But see, now I'm not going to be looking directly at it, so.
Doesn't matter. Hal never looks directly at it either. Well, I guess he does now. He didn't for a long time.
Yeah. I used to record from my built-in webcam on my laptop, and the laptop is on the left-hand side of my desk, not in front of it. So that's the way I used to roll. But I inherited Jonathan's old webcam, so thank you, Jonathan. I use it every day.
Yeah, it's better.
I actually do use it fairly often. I was in a Google Hangout today for work.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it worked out well. But it was a partner of ours, and hey, Rob, I see your face.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, what's up?
The partner had a Google account or whatever, and they use Hangouts. I like Hangouts for that type of thing, but can't really get anybody around me at my office to use it.
Okay.
I can occasionally do one-on-one video chats with people, but it's pretty rare.
Consider yourself lucky.
Yeah.
I use it every day.
Yeah. Is every day too much?
Every day is way too much.
Okay. I can see making a little bit of a convention around it, you know? Like, hey, guys, let's start the week off, you know, like Monday off with a video, you know, a group video session or whatever, but maybe not every day. I don't know. I'd be open to trying it for a little while in a new team, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm remote, you know, I work out of the house not 24/7. You know, the hours that I do work, I do them from my office. So it is occasionally nice to see my coworkers, you know, other than the 3 or 4 or 5 months that might pass between me flying home to the headquarters.
You need to get one of those roving robots.
The telepresence robots, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Just drive
I was
around
at Cisco
the
Live,
office.
6 weeks ago or whenever Cisco Live was, and in one of their sections they had one of those or two, or maybe it was multiple of those walking around, you know. So and then it was hooked up so that people could, you know, timeshare on their public Cisco Live website and browse around that particular area. And it's a neat idea, but like once you see it on the other end, you know, like you're the human looking at the robot, you realize that it's in the way, and it doesn't feel natural, and you like, I don't know about you, but I actively would not want to interact with that. You know, kind of in the same way, like how voice response, you know, on you know, telephone, you know, you call in and there's the menu, and it's like, you know, tell me how I can help you today. I hate those. I can't stand interacting with those things. I don't know. Is it just me?
No, it's not just you.
Chat room, help me out. Come on, back me up.
I had some coworkers in town this week from Austin, so that was cool. Got to meet some people face to face I had only seen on telepresence.
Cool. Well, y'all have the nice telepresence setup, though. Have you ever used the big room? Have you ever used the big room not for an all hands on deck, emergency situation?
No.
Oh, okay.
But I have used other telepresence rooms that had the Cisco gear, so yeah.
Yeah, okay.
We use those probably once a week or more.
That's cool. I remember one time I was when I was at Home Depot, I was investigating using one of the telepresence room for remote training.
Uh-huh.
And they said, hey, you can reserve it. That's a great idea. Just bear in mind that you're going to get preempted a lot. So it was.
They may have more rooms now than they do then, especially at the new location. We have a lot of telepresence at the new location. So yeah, when I do PowerShell training, we do it in a telepresence room with a room in Austin. So yeah, we do that every week. We're going to be doing it tomorrow.
That's awesome.
I won't be teaching, but Dean Miller's teaching tomorrow.
Cool. When did he start?
He started 4 months ago, 5 months ago, something like that.
I remember when you said that he was coming aboard or something like that.
Yeah.
Cool. Alrighty. Well, Rob, how you doing?
I'm doing very well, and I really actually never even respond to my actual real name. So it's surprising that I did.
I was going to ask about that. So do people really call you Barks all the time?
Absolutely. I'm going over to do some work in a data center, and the people that I have been doing some work with, another company, they only know me as Barks. And in order for me to get into this location, somebody actually called me and said, "Can we have your real name, please?"
Nice.
There's actually people at Pure Storage that some of them still have no idea what my real name is.
That's funny. Well, hey, let me pull up a couple of pieces of information, and then we will start the show officially. Let's see. I wanted to get the what do you call it? The last show that you guys were on the. Sorry, I can't type and talk at the same time. Apparently. Okay, there it is. Episode 298. That's the one with Vaughn and company. Alrighty. Got that ready to go. Oh, show notes. I forgot about show notes. Must do the show notes, then we shall start. And this is what, episode 306, maybe?
You are correct. Yes, 306.
Yes, I did it.
Nicely done.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Barks. I'm just going to write Barks.
There you go. Make sure it's a Z.
I got it. Do you typically capitalize the Z?
No.
Okay. All right. Just making sure. I want to get all weird. Mess it up. Okay. All right. Jonathan. Oh, I got to hit the share button with you. I will eventually get this going. Now I have shared the show notes with you, Jonathan. Okay. Everybody in the chat room, thank you for joining us. As usual, we would love for you to chip in with your questions and such. Just put a couple of hash marks in front like so, and we will weave those into the conversation. And yeah, we should be ready to go. So let's see here. Barks, Rob Barker, actual name.
Should we do something else in Slack for that? Can you pin the questions, or does something else make more sense?
Good question. You can set your own personal highlight words in preferences, and that's what I do. So I actually
that's cool.
Go to notification, highlight words, and I put 2 hash marks in there. So I'll get it'll make a sound, and I think that I can pull it up by looking at. I'm not sure where I find them. I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure if you can pull up highlights like that, but it does ping me, and it shows up in a it's highlighted like like a highlighter.
That's cool.
But it may not be as good as pinning.
That's in the
I wonder
preferences of the Windows
say-
client, or
On the Mac client it is. I'm sure it is in Windows as well, because it's under notifications.
okay.
And highlight words is the name of the feature on the Mac client. But I'm thinking, like, what if someone were to add a reaction? Default reactions. So see, I just added a reaction to Mark's message from a minute ago. Does everyone else in the chat room see that?
I see it.
You see? Okay. Well, then that would be a good way too.
I'm still
First
looking
thing
for
the problem is just,
notifications in my client.
Well, just that the fact that you have to look that long for it is kind of a good reason to. I mean, if everybody's on Slack, but not 100% are on Slack. Anyway, I'm like talking too long.
Hey, so
Eric
speaking of that,
Yeah.
how do I join your guys' Slack team?
Oh yeah, go to
I'm on Slack. It's just I need to know what the
slack.poshcode.org. I'll paste it to you is to get an invite. I could probably invite you directly because I think I'm an admin, but I've never actually done that before. Let me think about that. Give me a moment.
I just did get invite.
All right. I mean, you already did it, so there's kind of no point here, but I did invite others. How do I? There are 366 members, which is pretty cool.
There's only 48 in our channel, though.
Yeah. Well, we need more, but
Yes,
I'm
we
saying
do.
the whole Slack team.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's pretty cool. 366 in the announcements. Why is there a news channel? Oh yeah, I remember that. That's the automated one.
Wow, when I click on File Preferences in my client, it does absolutely nothing.
Really?
Nice work, programmers.
That's lame. Very lame. Yeah, I have no idea how to do it. But did you? If you got logged in and stuff, then I can go ahead and invite you to the right thing. Anyway.
Yeah, I am logged in.
There we go. I invited you. Oh, what do you know? I can do. There's an invite people command, and I can just give it an email address. So now I know. So for next time. All right, this is boring, people, I'm sure. Let's get started. And you can see the chat room now. So cool. If you go to the IRC bridge room, that one is mirrored to PowerShell on Freenode, and there's a whole bunch of people there. So that's the most active place on the whole Slack team is that one. So it's pretty transparent. But most people have migrated over to Slack, I've noticed. Anyway, let's stop talking about meta things. Tonight on the PowerScripting Podcast, we are pleased to welcome Rob Barker, also known as, or maybe more well known as Barks with a Z from Pure Storage. Hey, Rob, how you doing?
Good evening.
Thanks for joining us. This is the second try. I think you had to call in sick the other time, right?
Yeah, I got Vaughn and Cody to take over for me. And,
yeah, that worked
it is
out great.
definitely nice to be back.
Those are good guys. So
They were okay.
They were poor seconds, but they didn't know anything about PowerShell, so forget it. But people who may have missed it, episode 298, that was when we had Vaughn and Cody on from Pure Storage. They spent the whole podcast with us talking about Pure Storage technology, which was awesome stuff. So heavy on the storage, but very light on the PowerShell side. So we wanted to have Rob back to cover and what you guys are doing with PowerShell, which is, of course, of primary interest to us on the show. So before we do that, Rob, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So like you guys introduced me, pretty much everybody knows me as Barks. And I've been at Pure for just about 2 years. And my focus at life at Pure is, all things pretty much related to Microsoft technology. So specializing in, workloads that run on our flash storage platform. I spent a couple of years at NetApp, almost 5 years at NetApp. Once again, focused on the storage stuff and also worked on the Data on Tap PowerShell Toolkit with a great colleague and friend of mine, Glenn Sizemore. And
I didn't know.
Oh, Glenn is awesome.
Yeah,
I really like that guy.
Yeah, I'm good buddies with Glenn. And then prior to NetApp, I spent a long time in Microsoft up in Redmond, Washington.
Oh, really? What did you do there?
I've heard of that company.
Oh, yeah.
So I was a technical evangelist for a number of years, worked on SharePoint, worked in the Office group, worked on .NET, and whole kinds of other interesting things. So I kind of run the gamut from a career perspective. I started out at Microsoft as a developer, working on actually Mail 3.2. And
wow.
Yeah, I go way back. I go back all to the days of Xenix Mail, and then progressed up. And before I left Microsoft, I was a senior technical evangelist focused on doing stuff with SharePoint.
Cool. I didn't know that you started there. That's learned a lot about you. So we've had Glenn on the show, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 times. He's a good guy. Haven't seen him since. I forget if I saw him at Cisco Live or not. But anyway, we used to see each other at shows, even though he's in the same state. He's a little far away. It's like what John? It's like a 3-hour drive, 4-hour drive to Augusta, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Anyway, so that's cool. So why don't you tell us when you were at NetApp? So you were already doing PowerShell stuff at NetApp with the Data on Tap Toolkit, which we've discussed on the show in the past. And so when you came to Pure Storage, is your role like a solution architect? Is that what you're doing today?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So that's like a field-facing role, right? You can engage with customers directly.
Engage with customers, work with our field. It's actually a really great role because I pretty much get to kind of work with every functional area of the company. Product management, engineering, a whole bunch of different things. So it's actually never a boring day for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I like solution architecture work. I've done that before myself. It's good stuff. And yes, Mark, I don't know. Did Glenn move to RTP? That's not actually that far from Augusta when you think about it.
Yes, Glenn did move to RTP. I believe it was just a couple of years ago.
Okay. Yes, Mark, you are correct. Thank you, chat room. So, I totally lost my train of thought. Okay, so you're a solution architect. At what point did PowerShell enter the picture at Pure Storage?
Pretty quickly after I joined. There's one other guy that works at Pure who he was more the business development person, and I was more the technical person, focused on PowerShell, focused on Microsoft, and starting to kind of engage in doing more things integrated with Microsoft technologies. And because I had just kind of come from NetApp and had done a bunch of blogging and things at NetApp related to the toolkit from there. One of the first things that I came over was kind of like, hey, how can I automate? How can I manage? How can I do some of these things directly from Windows? And we have a CLI, and that was all good and everything, but you needed an SSH client and or something of that nature to actually do some management and automation, and certainly not to the customization level, that's easy to use and kind of friendly, can be plugged into workflows and things of that nature. So I kind of embarked on the first what we previously called the PowerShell Toolkit. That was the first generation of the work that I did, which was basically doing PowerShell with SSH and doing SSH pass-throughs.
Okay.
And then being able to kind of straddle between the Windows world through SSH into our array, and then do the bidirectional communication to kind of be able to do a couple of things. And then generationally, at Pure, we kind of pride ourselves on doing looking at things from an architecture standpoint and making sure that we're implementing them in the best fashion that we can for the broadest array of opportunity. And in this case, we still have that CLI, but then we started to develop the REST API. And the REST API is really what we use to do all levels of integration with the Flash array now. And then once we had the REST API, looking at PowerShell, you've got invoke REST method or invoke web request. And so I kind of went to town with our REST API and pretty much implemented. Yeah, I'd say I probably got maybe about 96% of all of our REST APIs covered in the original toolkit. I almost revved that thing on a weekly basis for a very long time, and I slowed down for a while. Kind of kept it on a monthly cadence, and then just went into if you will, bug fix mode and looking for people that are asking for requests for enhancements or things of that nature, and slowed down.
Did you
a bit.
have any idea of how many people were using the module?
It's really kind of hard to tell. I know on GitHub. On GitHub, we had I had quite a few, several thousand views of it, and Git's not really all that great, in my opinion, from being able to kind of track downloads. But looking at things like if you tried to correlate across, Twitter, Twitter Bitly links being direct downloads and things of that nature. I would estimate there was probably 500 or 600 downloads of it, probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is a hard thing to figure out when you, especially when you have kind of a free package, and it could be the entry point for getting to it could be many different ways, and many of them, or some of them, you might not have stats. You might not have access to stats for, especially if somebody were just to like clone the GitHub repo, for example. You're not gonna see that as a download necessarily.
Yeah.
So is the PowerShell toolkit the previous version? You said rename, and I saw that there was like the PowerShell SDK. What's the difference?
What's it about? So basically, we had so many customers, beginning to use the toolkit itself to do a lot of the automation and management of different environments and different operations, that I spent some time with product management and with our engineering team, and we decided to actually make the investment to go and actually develop a full-fledged module. And we've now called that module, that's what we've just announced, just earlier this week, last week, which is what we call the Pure Storage PowerShell SDK. And that SDK, if you were to look at the previous toolkit, this is the next generation of the toolkit. And now that we have the SDK, which covers 100% of all of our REST APIs, and that's actually in a great build process, so that as we come out with potentially new versions or new features within our REST API, we can very rapidly be able to deploy a new version of the SDK. Now, the toolkit's still going to live on. So right now, it's actually up on GitHub, and it's in 2 forks. The first one is the old toolkit, so I do still keep that around, and I support that for customers that want to use it. And I do continue to make fixes or enhancements, but most of my time is spent on the SDK. And then I'm also started what's now being called the Toolkit 3.0, which leverages the SDK as its foundation. And the concept behind the toolkit is it's now much more going to be what I would consider a real toolkit from the standpoint of there's going to be Windows commandlets in there that help a storage administrator or an application owner be able to do things with stuff like with Exchange and with SQL. There's going to be things in there like you probably talked to Cody about this last time, where Cody actually writes some PowerShell and some PowerCLI that we're actually implementing inside of the toolkit for our best practices and setting certain settings in VMware. And then we're looking at a broader set of things of how can I control SQL a little bit better, because we have customers that run SQL Server on our flash arrays, and then being able to kind of give you all kinds of just little different widgets that we know that set best practices or know how to do certain things very well when it comes to managing that data on our flash array.
Okay, I think I understand what you're saying here. So it sounds like right now there might be duplication at the moment. But longer term, there won't be. Or have you already split them out? They're
totally split out now. Yeah, they're totally split out now.
Okay. So, I mean, if someone were starting from scratch, what is the correct advice? Is it to go grab the SDK?
Yes, if you were starting on Greenfield, definitely grab the SDK. If you are a previous user of the toolkit, there is going to be a little bit of a transition in terms of transitioning from the commandlets that were in the original toolkit into the SDK. That's not unfortunately we really did try hard to make it a one-to-one mapping, but it just didn't. It wasn't feasible for us to do, and we had to make that trade-off. Fortunately, there is some, a little bit of work that existing customers would have to do, but I think it's going to be worth it in the long run as we continue to revision the SDK, and then the toolkit is going to still be open source. So if there are people that have ideas or they want to, fork it, do anything with it, they certainly can.
So if I were to go ahead and install the SDK on my system, would I need anything else installed to do the management, or is that all that's required?
Not at all.
Okay, cool.
That's all that's required, and it's it's got the full installer, and whereas before with the toolkit you actually had to do import module and everything else, we actually extend the PS module path now, so we're automatically there, ready to go. The only thing that you would actually need is a flash array on the other end. Why
don't you put yourself in the actual module path instead of extending the module path?
Well, we did put it. We are in environment PS module path.
Okay. So you're under program files, Windows PowerShell modules?
We're under our own. So we're under program files. I mean, it's modifiable when you do the installation, but we're under program files, pure storage, and then there's the modules folder for us. And then when you install the SDK has its own folder. And then when you install the new toolkit that'll be coming out, we'll actually install under that same directory.
So is there any problem with an Xcopy type of deploy?
Nope, not at all.
Okay, so you don't have to run the installer to do that.
No. The only way to get our bits though is through the installer. So we didn't do anything with just making a zip archive or anything like that.
Have you seen PowerShell Gallery yet?
Yes. That's,
any thought on that from in terms of a third party vendor publishing on essentially Microsoft's Gallery? I don't know if I've asked another vendor about that yet, but
yeah,
I know there'd be legal concerns,
Oh, definitely. But I mean, I think it's one of the things for us with PowerShell is really about spreading the word and getting people to kind of use things and see where we're headed and understand that Pure has an investment in this particular technology because we do have a lot of customers that run Windows, customers that are managing all kinds of different applications from a Microsoft perspective, and we're definitely invested in continuing and moving this technology forward.
So I want to ask you about some particulars of the SDK, but before I do, I noticed that you guys also just announced a Python toolkit, and I'm kind of curious if you found that the requirements for a Python user versus a PowerShell user were different.
So we actually the Python toolkit's been out there for a little while, almost right around the same time that I did the original toolkit. We also came out with the Python library, and I started I started kind of playing around with the Python stuff, and it's got a similar feel to it, and I'm trying to take I guess maybe push the PowerShellness inside of Python right now, to work on that library and try to extend it. That maybe there's a chance to kind of bridge the gap a little bit between, if you're a PowerShell person and you want to get into the Python world, this is the way that we can kind of morph some things to make it get that PowerShell feel to it. Versus kind of just directly switching minds and thinking about it solely from a Python perspective.
Yeah, we have, Pythonistas have their own conventions, just like you'd expect PowerShell users to have their own conventions and expectations. So,
yeah, and that
you can't make everybody happy.
Yeah, that blog post that I put out with regards to some of the Python toolkit, it's pretty slick. It's using a Windows shell called Baboon that's also available on Git, and it really is a pretty slick and easy way to get started just with Python itself. And then you can also download do a wget on our Python library and pull that in. We're pretty close in terms of the way that things are structured between the PowerShell side and the Python side. So there is some definite knowledge that can be shared across both sets of users.
All right, cool. So, are there any functional differences between using the SDK and the toolkit in the sense that, like, do you I think you said that the toolkit used SSH. Is it still that way, or do they both use the REST API now?
Yeah, so the original version of the toolkit used SSH.
Okay.
That's when we had a pretty limited set of commandlets. We just basically did the core things like taking snapshots, creating volumes, creating hosts, and things of that nature. Once the REST API was implemented, I moved the toolkit over to using invoke REST method. So we literally called, we made true, REST API calls. So all the generations of the toolkit, all the way up to the final one that I published, which is 2.8.430. That one uses all REST. And the same thing with the SDK, that's completely based on REST also. Just the difference is one's a compiled module and the other's a functional module.
Okay. So why don't you tell us about your experience working with REST from PowerShell? Do you have any challenges?
Absolutely.
Because I've got a couple I've been thinking about.
Yeah, it's not exactly very straightforward in terms of being able to build object lists and things of that nature, especially when you've got REST APIs that potentially have 5 or 10 or 20 different types of parameters. It gets fairly complicated when you're trying to do things. I have found that there are some issues with using invoke REST method and being able to return certain things. I went through a period of trying to transition everything over to invoke web request, and that was more troubling. So there are definitely the challenges between figuring out which ones that you want to use. And one of the biggest ones that I kind of ran into, which is, something to do with timeouts. So we actually have that rectified in the in the compiled module now. And, we can set our own timeouts and everything else. Because, we're developing in C#, and so we can control things, at a much more granular level. But with invoke REST method, I found that as, let's just say somebody went and created a volume, created a host, connected those things, and started to take some snapshots. But then when that connection went idle for a particular amount of time, you would basically end your session. And part of that was the implementation of invoke REST method, which basically looks at idle out time. So, I got into going into Fiddler and looking at how these sessions were being managed. And lo and behold, it was PowerShell that was kind of kicking me out versus, our array saying, hey, this thing's stale, dump this session so that, nothing else can come through. So that was one of the biggest challenges. And there was a lot of customers that kind of gave the feedback of, hey, I wish, when I did a bunch of operations and I all of a sudden went off and had to do another task, whether it was something with SQL or Exchange or whatever else, and then they'd all of a sudden come back into the pipe, that session would be dead.
Wow.
So they had to, there would have to be some, additional work on the customer side to, sense when that session was dead and actually reestablish the session. That was the biggest challenge. I think that was my biggest challenge.
Interesting. So, but the end result is now you're using C# and, presumably just like what I'm trying to think of the object, like net.web request or something like that.
Yep. HTTP web request.
Yep. And there, I guess when you're building that out, you're able to, set the timeouts as you like and so forth.
Yeah, exactly. And, one of the other, I would say it's not necessarily related to REST necessarily, but one of the things that, is important is being able to do multi-array management. So it's like, sure, we might have a customer that has a single array and that's the array that they want to manage, but what do you do with a customer that has 3 arrays or 10 arrays, and they want to be able to...
You must be flexible for that.
Yeah, so that's one of the things, that in the toolkit, there was a foundation to be able to do that in a single session of PowerShell. But you basically had to kind of create either an array of, flash array objects, if you will, which made things a little bit convoluted because each one of them had its own web session. So you had to keep track of some of those things. But now what we've done is we've changed a little bit of that in the SDK. And we now use what we call as endpoints. And those endpoints is basically a flash array sitting at that endpoint. And now you can set timeouts for any one of those. You can build arrays of objects of those flash array objects and be able to manage those and submit commands against, 2 or 3 different arrays if you want to build things simultaneously. So that's one of the big improvements that we did make.
So outside of working with REST, did you have any concerns related to performance and scaling that that were hard to tackle?
When it comes to working with our flash array, there really isn't any challenge when it comes to performance. I typically, if I get into doing executive briefings or something of that nature, and they want to see some demos of different things, I can snapshot in one line using a for each loop. I can take a snapshot of a 5 terabyte volume and 100 copies of it in just a matter of seconds. Gotcha. There really isn't any type of performance limitations when it comes to working with our stuff.
Must be nice.
Yeah, it is. It is an absolute treat. When I first started at Pure and I was playing around with this stuff, I had to nudge the guys next to me going, did this really just happen? Because coming from the spindle world and, being able to do some of the things that we do, it is just a mind-altering experience to be able to do some of the things that we can do.
Cool. So what's next? I mean, it sounds like you have, especially given that you've got this, real engineering team behind this. Sounds like you've got an automated build environment where whenever you guys bump your REST API, you maybe not quite this simple, but you hit a button and then bam, you've got a new SDK build. Is it pretty close to that?
Pretty close to that.
Awesome. So, what are the? Okay, I'm trying to think about how to ask a question here. So, when people think about managing storage, generally, there's we know what a lot of the popular objects and operations one might do, or at least people were familiar with storage anyway, and we know that you guys work on Flash, and like you mentioned, supposed to spinning platter performance, characteristics are, way off the chart, which is great. Is there anything else that that Pure is bringing to the table that it kind of exposes new things to do in PowerShell that they might be unique?
I think it's, if you kind of take one step back from the management and the automation elements of it, from a Flash perspective, we're really kind of flipping a lot of the old methodology and thinking of how to do application deployment, if you will, whether it be Oracle, whether it be SQL, whether it be Exchange or anything else, and kind of I'll use SQL as the primary example here. And in the past, when you're coming from a spindle world, you would want to eke out every single IOP, as much bandwidth as you could possibly do for any one of your database applications. And the way that you would do that in the spindle world is you would have different RAID groups, you would have different amounts of spindles to handle different operations for log files, for temp, for primary, for secondaries, which actually really complicated the management infrastructure that you had to deal with. You might be dealing with 50 volumes versus, being able to kind of simplify that down. And this is one of the radical things that we're kind of changing in the Flash world, is just the basic approach of being able to do application management and then the underlying storage management for those applications. And a great example of this is just like that, the example that I gave around thinking about SQL in the spindle world. We now can put all the files for a single database, primaries, secondaries, and logs, on one volume. And give you all the performance that you need.
Change. Wow. Okay. I didn't even realize that. I never thought about that because I've been involved in some really large enterprise deployments of software. Jonathan knows what I'm talking about. Like when I was at Home Depot, for example. I mean, deploying SQL was a huge big deal, and part of that, a giant part of that actually, was the storage architecture and how you're spreading those things out on specific volumes, like you said, to carve out the most IOPS that you can get. Man, that makes the deployment a ton simpler.
Well, the other thing that it also makes a ton simpler is the difference between using application consistent snapshots and crash consistent snapshots. So by default, in a Pure system, everything that we do, when we take a snapshot of a volume, that's what we consider a crash consistent snapshot. But the really interesting thing is, people coming from the spindle world, many people are always used to using volume shadow copy service because VSS is what was able to correlate and actually create as a consistency group all these crazy amounts of volumes. And it was the only way to get all those volumes simultaneously in a quiesced state, so that you could take a snapshot and you could actually be guaranteed across all those volumes that those files are a consistency, they're at the same timestamp and everything else. That was really one of the foundations of why VSS was important. But now, coming into the Flash world, we're finding that people are radically rethinking the way that they do database work. Now they don't have to worry about VSS necessarily, because they can take and put all their data, put all their files in one particular volume, snapshot that volume, and keep rocking and rolling. At the same time, the other problems in the coming from the spindle to the flash world, specifically from a database perspective, is the fact that people wouldn't run sometimes, DBCCs. They would only have to come in on weekends to take backups. When it comes to using Pure and, the management and the automation pieces, we have people running DBCCs in the middle of a day. We have people running backups in the middle of the day on their primary databases, and there's no effect to performance.
Wow.
So, when you think about the whole package, we're really radically coming in and changing the way that people can do things. One of the phrases that I always use is, we're actually giving DBAs or administrators or application developers back that real focus that they want. Which means that they can start looking at things like SQL 2016, or they can look at in-memory stuff versus having to deal with swapping out a drive or figuring out a RAID problem or figuring out why a backup failed. We're actually giving people back their time to spend it in those right areas.
That's lovely. I like to think of my job many times, or at least it used to be, maybe not so much now, is engineering myself out of a job. So, clear away the clutter and, get to the thinking, get to the, the planning and solving of the hard problems. So, yeah, if you're able to reduce that time that people spend on tests, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Nice. Hey, Jonathan?
Yes.
Your mic sounds fine. Just like talking in the chat room, about your microphone. Don't be sad.
It's not bad. It's like a Shure SM58. It's not a bad mic. It's just not my Heil PR40.
It's not your Heil PR40. Just don't be sad. I just wanted you to, cheer up, okay?
I've been using this thing for months. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Making sure you're okay. That's all.
I appreciate that.
So, what's your let's kind of go out, Rob, on a call to action. What do you want people to do in terms of PowerShell and Pure?
If you're an existing Pure customer and happen to be on the call, definitely check out the SDK. We have links in that blog post that I have, which actually talks about all of our programming interfaces. So it gets into the details of REST and Python and PowerShell. The SDK and the Toolkit is download it and take a look at it, and be able to kind of start thinking about just different ways that you can do management and automation when it comes to working with Pure Storage.
Can I take things off the rails now? Have we stayed on track long enough?
Yeah. Go ahead. Take things off the rails.
So, Rob, there's a lot of new technology that's right on the horizon. We've got PowerShell version 5. We've got Nano Server. We've got container technology. So, what are you excited about?
I just started. Well, I've been doing PowerShell 5 for a while now, so most of everything that's been tested with the SDK and with the toolkit's always been under PowerShell 5.
Cool.
Probably the thing that's got me most excited is Nano.
Okay.
I'm actually really looking forward to finally going head to head with ESX to some extent in the small footprint of Nano Server, and being able to rapidly, be able to deploy out multiple servers using Nano, using DSC, and things of that nature. So,
very nice.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on Nano Server. That is some hot stuff. I personally, though, containers are going to be where I want to spend a lot of quality time for the next few months. I see them being already so important on the Linux side, and I can't wait to try it out on the Windows side. I haven't done it yet, though. I haven't really implemented a Windows 10 server. What is it? Server? Is it 2016? Is that what they're calling it?
Yeah, Server 2016. I actually just I just finished a bunch of VMs on 2016. Did both the GUI version and then also did the server core stuff, and I just simply love it.
Awesome.
Do you see DSC ever making sense in the storage world?
I mean, that's something that I've been thinking about is, how can, I mean, number one, it benefits anybody from, that doing anything with Windows when it comes to working with our storage. But I'm most interested in being able to take DSC and actually configure our arrays. Thinking about partners being able to kind of, have a bunch of DSC packages that they can just say, boom, go. I think it would be a huge benefit of being able to do things like that.
So how do you think that would work? I mean, in terms of a scenario, why would you want to use configuration management in that arena? And how would you integrate that with the rest of your environment?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think it would be more applicable to customers that would have a multitude of arrays.
Okay.
One of the interesting kind of scenarios, now how realistic the scenario is or not is questionable. But imagine if you could take DSC and you can reestablish entire server farms pretty darn rapidly.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Right, and I mean, think about you've got a whole bunch of storage that maybe the storage is smart enough to say, hey, I'm not being used wisely. Let me reconfigure myself to do something better for you. And then all of a sudden being able to take maybe 3 or 4 or 5 arrays and immediately reconfigure them to a better and more optimal configuration. Or being able to say, hey, I've got a dev test environment. We've been working for 6 months on, let's just say a CRM app, and it requires this type of configuration. And then all of a sudden, you're done, and you say, all right, now we're going to move on to our next project. And our next project is working on an ERP app, and it has this configuration. Take all those arrays and reconfigure them for the ERP operation without having to touch every single one of them.
Okay, yeah. That sounds great.
There's a lot of scenarios that kind of become possible that just a few years ago we weren't even considering. It was hard.
Rob, did we lose your audio?
I don't think so.
Okay. Just making sure.
Sometimes you just never know. So, anything else? Where should we send people? We're going to have a link in the show notes to your purestorage.com/blog/announcing the new Pure Storage PowerShell SDK. That link there. Anywhere else?
That link is good. Is a good place to start. The other one would be to purepowershellguy.com.
All right, awesome. So you're blogging there.
Yeah, my blog's actually syndicated from there over.
Okay, gotcha. I've done the same before. So excellent. So we've got one more question for you, Rob Barks.
Yes.
Barker. This is a question that we ask everybody who comes on the show. If you could be a superhero or have a superpower, what would it be and why?
I would probably say, and this is no reflection upon the movie coming out, would be smallness.
Really? Ant-Man?
Yes.
I haven't seen it yet. Have you seen it?
I have not seen it.
I've heard somebody mention on Facebook, I think it was, that their expectations were low, but they came out pleasantly surprised.
Yeah,
that it was kind of a sleeper good superhero movie.
Yeah, I've seen the same thing with most of the stuff I've seen on Facebook. Most people, I think, with one possible exception, and I don't rate his opinions very highly. Everybody else seemed to really like it,
except for this one idiot.
Yes, I didn't want to say that.
That's funny. So why smallness? Where does that come from?
Man, you can go anywhere.
Yeah, but it would take you so long.
Why is that better than invisibility?
It's a great question.
we're gonna convince him to change.
Well, I mean,
so would you consider invisibility?
Well, I mean, honestly, it's just like, I would either be like Ant-Man, or I'd have to be like, I'd have to go Hulk or Thing.
Okay.
So I'd have to be like, ultra strong and ultra huge. I don't know, man. There's some kind of, there's some kind of thing there. Maybe there's some Freudian thing in there. I don't know.
Maybe there is. Well, that's a good one. You're definitely the first one to say Ant-Man, but I don't think anybody's really talked about smallness before either. And bear in mind, we're past 300 shows. You know, that's almost 300 interviews. I don't think every single show was an interview in the early days. And we've always been asking this question, so that's an accomplishment, Rob.
Hey, there you go, man.
Thank you. So, thanks for spending time with us and updating us on what you guys are doing. Cool PowerShell stuff at Pure. So, welcome back anytime when you've got new stuff to talk about.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on, and it was a pleasure talking. And thanks for everybody that was listening.
All right, Barks. Good stuff.
Thank you, Hal and Jonathan.
So we will let you know when this posts to the website. We'll shoot you a link, or you'll probably see it on Twitter or something as well.
Yeah, perfect.
All right, man. Thanks. Appreciate
man.
it.
Good night.
Adios. Have a good one.
All right, see ya. So, Jonathan,
Yes.
what you been up to? We've been rather rushed, it seems, in some of the past few shows, and we got kind of. I'm not like really tired like I usually am, so I don't talking for a minute. You know, you did a great job. You like pumped out all the episodes.
Man,
That was a lot of work.
I was so frustrated being that backed up. So now I'm only backed up 2 episodes. So that's much better. But yeah, I mean, we were so close to 1 million downloads. That gave me some extra incentive to get some more shows out there. Congratulations, by the way.
Congratulations to you, dude. 1 million. Is that what you were talking about? Because I was talking about 1 million.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm having trouble wrapping my mind around that.
I know.
I mean, if you listen to our shows are generally,
Facebook,
we could say average an hour, probably a little more than that. But 1 million hours is like over 44,000 years.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Let's see. I think I should be able to just drag this. I'm just going to put the picture in Slack real quick.
What is 1 million hours in years?
Million hours. There we go. Upload.
114.08 years.
Wait, that was totally wrong. 114 years.
Yeah, well, and you know, maybe each download is not 100% of the show, and you know, but even so,
Yeah, that's still. I'm still very happy we made it to that milestone.
me too. Did you check out the all the little? I don't know if you saw them, the little Facebook things, like the impressions and all that crap that I was playing with the ad.
Yeah, that was
stuff.
pretty amazing, actually.
It's kind of neat. Yeah. $5, you know, it was just an experiment.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool to play with, to see what, you know, what that did. I'm not going to go dump, $1,000 in there or anything like that.
Right, yeah.
It's kind of new, but it was kind of cool to see other people liking and seeing, the post.
Right. Yeah, that was great.
So, and like maybe it kind of sort of persists. I don't know how that works, but like I noticed that more people, or rather different people, liked the post that came right after that than had ever, interacted with the page before. So that was
Yeah, that's
cool
true.
too. I wonder if that's kind of like a follow-on effect kind of thing, even though I didn't pay for that somehow it, became more relevant to more people or something like that.
Let's see. Last time we had Matt Graber on the show, I don't know.
It's been a while. Not too long. Let's find out. What's Matt's handle? PROEBR, PowerScripting. Let's see. I remember. Matt Infestation or Mattifestation.
Manifestation.
Yeah.
Looks like 174. Episode
Okay.
174.
I thought we had him on more recently than that, because that was forever ago.
That's what I'm just doing a search.
Yeah.
Is Jeffrey Snover coming on again soon? We don't have him scheduled that I'm aware of soon.
And we had him on not that long ago.
Yeah, to talk about version 5 stuff.
Yeah, and it got weird because they're not pushing releases out the same way that we used to, you know?
Right.
It used to be like we'd have Jeffrey on once a year, you know, because they'd have a release once a year, you know, that or whatever it was, or, you know, and it worked out. But now it's a little, you know, things are kind of spread out, and you're getting all these releases, so it's not as clear.
Yeah,
like we can get Jeffrey on.
When can we actually say that PowerShell 5 has been released?
I don't even know.
I'm going to say like when Windows 10 is officially out, right? In a week or so.
When does that happen? The like, 'cause I think I opted in on all my boxes.
7th or the 29th?
Okay. And it's supposed to be on a bunch of our boxes already, right? Like it's one of those, you know, it's been staging the download forever and stuff.
Right, and if you have build 240, that's it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, neat.
If you notice, like if you have anything with 240 on it, the build number's gone on the, you know, normally it's down in the corner.
Okay, yeah. Well, if we need to get Matt on to talk about security stuff, we can do that. I think it's been a long enough.
You know, it'd be cool.
We could circle back. What?
What if we could get Matt and Lee Holmes on at the same time to talk about security?
Didn't we do something like that? Didn't we have 2 security people on at the same time before, or am I totally making that up?
We may have
maybe it was
Matt
maybe
on
2
with
shows
somebody
in a
else.
row, something. Yeah, I'll bet that's what it was. I think that we had. It may not have been Matt. It may have been one of the because we've had a few different security folks on, whether it was Matt or whether it was what's his name, Rel1K.
Oh yeah.
What? Either one of those guys. Then we had, you know, somebody on from Microsoft.
Dave Kennedy.
Yeah, Dave Kennedy. Thank you. Yeah, but I don't think we was on the same show before.
But I mean, we can do it.
You know, like all I have to do is just say, hey, want to come on the podcast again? ? To Matt. Okay, there. I've tweeted. So there, he's been invited.
So that's the thing.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Let's see.
Yeah, Joel's saying he doesn't think PowerShell 5 will be done until Server 2016.
And that's going to be next year.
I hope that's not true.
Do you hope it's not true, or do you fear that it is true?
I hope it's not true because I want the down level version that's going to work with 2008 R2 with the new DSC features sooner than that.
You want that baked, yeah.
Yeah.
But there's going to be modules that can't ship until Server 2016 is shipped, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, those could be necessarily, I don't know.
Well, it'll just be like, you know, PowerShell 4 is today. There are modules that are available in 2012 R2 that aren't available in 2008 R2. It's still PowerShell 4. It's just the capabilities of the operating system.
Yeah, I remember we did have 2 security folks on. That was when we had Ben 10 on with Matt. Other Matt. Different Matt. MWJ. Is am I thinking of the right guy? Matt Johnson. Thank you. Yeah.
We already got a downloadable version, but it's not like official. I can't push that. Yep. Probably.
Herschel, that would be cool to see a Snover session at VMworld. I know that he goes every year. Wouldn't surprise me at all for him doing a session there. That would be cool. Has anyone ever used Chocolatey in production?
I hate the lack of storage commandlets in 2008 R2.
What's there to do with storage in 2008 R2? I don't know.
Like if you're partitioning drives or things like that, you still have to use.
Oh yeah.
You have to use disk part and crap, which
Ugh,
instead
yeah.
of the commandlets, which is annoying.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Just roll your own, man. So I'm kind of wondering about N3T's question about somebody who uses Chocolatey in production. So we could do a call out and see if somebody is willing to. Matt says anytime ever after August 10, I'd be happy to. I select less than I did last time too. All right, so yes, we'll get Matt on in August. And who else can we do? So I guess I will ask, and you guys can help spread the word. We'll need to find somebody. I could ask, shoot, who's the guy that does Chocolatey? My name's escaping me. He is the Chocolatey guy. His name is... man, it's going to drive me nuts. I got to go look it up. Hold up. He works at Chef, or he works at... Oh, there it is, Rob. Fervent Coder. Rob Reynolds, that's him. So let's ask if he knows if anybody is using Chocolatey in production, and we will get them on the podcast. How about that? That's a plan that I like. I don't care about you guys. I like the plan now, so that's what we're going to do. You guys are welcome to, make your own suggestions. You still on there, Jonathan?
Am I still on what?
Well, because this connection is so solid, it's so nice. It's silent when you're silent.
Oh, right, yeah.
So I don't know when you're...
Are you still there?
Yeah.
Are you gone?
Like, hello?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Fervent. Okay, we're just gonna do this now because otherwise it won't get done, right?
I don't know. There's other cool things, right? In PowerShell version 5, the class stuff, and there are a few other things. What convert from string data? What is that thing? I can never remember the name of that commandlet.
I have convert some string data is a commandlet. I've asked Rob if he knows anybody who's using Chocolatey in production, so we'll try that. We shall see that. Let me see here.
I could totally see like a small company using that.
Oh yeah, Eric and Joel. I can't research the answer to a question and read the chat room at the same time because I got too many windows open. And I don't know. I don't stumble over things on audio. What are you talking about? That is a mischaracterization, sir. Yeah, let's schedule the rest of the year. Let's just get it done. Classes are for... All right. Good enough. We've planned 2 episodes. That is...
That's way ahead of where we usually are. Since Scripting Life gave us the boot.
Well, coincidentally, this was the last episode that I had, explicitly scheduled.
Okay.
So I don't have anything in the hopper. I've got an idea for one from a dude from Microsoft to talk about ReFS, which is a new...
Oh, yeah.
Mode. But, yeah, that's it. And so I haven't like booked it yet. But I have talked to him recently, like this week or something, so he was still interested. So that's the thing. We can do that. All right. He said, Rob says, yes, maybe. So, bam. Wait, I hit the wrong button there. So that would be cool if we could swing that.
Okay. Now what's going on in the chat room? See, so I've got the.
I keep moving Slack out of the way so that I can read on my primary monitor, and then I lose track of the chat room.
Has anybody watched Mr. Robot past episode 3?
I missed the last week's episode, and then I have not. Yeah, the answer is no for me.
Yeah, 3 had a bunch of freaky sex in it, and I'm like, I didn't care for that.
Yeah, and the drug use is kind of getting me down.
I mean, why is this guy living in a slumlord place? He's an IT pro. I mean, I don't know. Just seems weird.
I know. Yeah, it didn't quite match the persona. I don't know.
Yes, some parts of that show are really cool, and some parts of it are just like, wow, okay, that really puts me off.
Now I'm chatting with Rob on Twitter, so he's we'll flesh that out. I mean, I don't know. I may go back to it. I'm very touchy with television. Like since I don't go to the TV to watch something, it's basically like Stacy might be watching something that she's watching and I'm not watching it, and then she'll say, "Hey, let's watch something together." I was like, okay, what? Then we'll go to something that we might be following, like and pick it up on demand or Netflix or something. But like it's easy for me to forget about a show and then I don't care. So if I miss a period of time, then I'll just I might never watch the show again because I could not care less, unless it's one of a very short list of shows, which basically right now is just Doctor Who.
Oh yeah.
We're still working our way, finishing up Doctor Who. We're almost caught up to the last season on Netflix, which is not the current season, I think.
I've been watching Marvel cartoons from Netflix with Hannah. Yeah.
Cool.
Some of them are really good.
All right,
They
really?
do a great job, yeah.
Cool.
We just finished Hulk and the Agents of Smash. It was a good show.
Cool. Alrighty, well, I am going to go ahead and go upstairs and see if Stacy wants to watch Doctor Who.
Okay.
Or Mr. Robot. I don't know. It could happen.
We'll see. Anyway, all right.
Good night, everybody, in the chat room, people, and we'll talk to you next time.
So will that be in 2 weeks? A week? What are we doing? Do you know?
I don't know. Probably 2 weeks. I haven't, I haven't scheduled one yet. But let's see. Matt won't be ready yet, and I'm still working on Rob. And always open to ideas. Everybody listening to me right now, always open to ideas for people to have on the show. So let us know, please. Doctor Who. Oh, see, once it's okay. You just got to put in your head that the Doctor is going to change. This is Doctor Who. That's what happens. You get new doctors and new companions, and it takes you, might take you a couple shows, whatever, but they're all good.
So do you have to go back and watch all of them, or could I just pick up with the new Doctor and just go forward from there?
You could pick up with a new Doctor if you wanted to.
I watched the first episode, and there were these weird people with really bad costumes just hanging out in London, and I had no idea. And there was a dinosaur, and it's like, what?
Oh, actually, I remember that.
I have no idea. This makes no sense.
Clueless. Yeah, it's not just you. It's not just you. And sometimes the accents are enough that I had to turn on subtitles.
Yeah, I did too.
So silly. I felt silly, especially when you get to Amanda Pond, a companion in the kind of the middle of the show. She's awesome. I love her, but she's Scottish, and it took me a while to get used to her accent.
I mean, there have been some episodes just that my son has said, "Oh my gosh, you have to watch this," like the one with the weeping angels, and I was like, "Wow, this is really cool." And then
The Weeping Angels are the best.
yeah.
Those are some of the best episodes of the whole shit series. So that's true.
And there was another one that had the trash can robot things that aren't really robots. Daleks, yeah. One of the real
trash can was.
really deadly. They're trash cans with arms. They look ridiculous. They are not scary.
What is it called? What do you call Textravaganza? That's what I was thinking about. I'm sorry, I'm multitasking here.
Are you doing anything for Textravaganza?
No, I didn't submit anything. Did you?
Yeah, I think I'm going to do something about convert from string data and classes.
That would be cool.
Also at TechEd, by the way, you've recorded sessions.
Yeah, that's what I was just typing.
TechEd, yeah.
I did Tech Ed. It was actually very successful. This would have been the Tech Ed in New Orleans, I think it was. And I did one session where I was on stage with Ed Wilson, and I did another one just myself. And Jonathan was going to try to be there and join me. That didn't work out, so it was just me. But yeah, it was super successful. I mean, the room was packed in both of those sessions, and my session got repeated. So I packed the room twice, and yeah, I mean, it was awesome. And it wasn't even a regular breakout session. It was a birds of a feather.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I like doing those a lot.
So I'm not sure what he means by live talks. I mean, aren't we doing a live talk?
We're doing a live
now?
talk right now.
How would that be different than what we're doing now? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I follow that.
I will be at Tech Mentor speaking, by the way. So tell your dude teammate guy to find me and let's chat.
Oh, a traditional auditorium kind of talk.
A traditional auditorium.
We've done that at like Textravaganza here in Atlanta.
Textravaganza, we did that.
We do that.
That was literally in an auditorium.
Yeah, we do that here locally from time to time. When there's, like a PowerShell Saturday or something like that we've done before.
Yeah, I've got to have like some sort of, motivation. Like Textravaganza is not too hard because it's local,
Yeah.
But yeah, we haven't successfully made it to a big show together at the same time.
No, we haven't.
I would love to do things like the PowerShell summits and do a thing there, but like it just doesn't line up with my travel and my work, anymore. Like like if I were still doing Windows stuff at Home Depot, it makes sense, but it doesn't for me anymore. So
right, yeah,
I haven't been able to fit that one in. Sadly.
I need to tell you something after we stop streaming.
Okay. All right. Good night, guys. Jonathan and I have to talk private time. Private time.
Good night, everybody.